is Sheila, your computer science teacher. In last class, we saw chapter 7, part 1, composition. What is composition? It is nothing but a phrase which actually forces a computer to do some action. In that, we just saw a conditional statement, we saw a sequential statement, and we also saw iterative statements. Yes, what is conditional statement? Conditional statement is nothing but if a process is true, that will be executed. If not, the second statement will be executed. Even if there is if, else, if, what happens? First condition, if both are false, the last condition will be executed. Then we saw sequential statement. Sequential statement is the statements will be executed one after the other. What about iterative statement? A statement will be executed several number of times. Yes, that is going to be termed as what? Iterative statement. Next comes your decomposition. What is decomposition? Decomposition divides the problems into smaller parts. Yes, it is one of a problem solving technique. It just divides a big problem into small problems and finds the solutions for each small problems, then combines everything together to form one solution. That is what is termed as what? Decomposition. See, even if the smaller problem is not going to be solvable, what do? Is we further divide it into small problems and we will find solutions easily. Yes, why do we do this? It is because we wanted to find solutions in a simpler way. Next comes refinement. After decomposing a problem into smaller sub-problems, what do? Is we either refine a sub-problem or we abstract the sub-problem. What is meant by abstraction? We focus only on that problem and we will leave out the other problems. Yes, that is going to be called as abstraction. Fine. So each problem can be expanded into more detailed steps. Yes, we can make it in detail. Either it can be a small problem, but even it has certain values and solutions to be given, isn't it? So what do? Is we divide. See, we speak all this with respect to programs. Yes, each step can be further expanded to smaller finer steps and so on. So what happens is for each and everything, what do? Is we divide it into small problems such that what happens? You will get a perfect answer. Yes, so that such process is called as refinement. We can also abstract the sub-problem. We specify each sub-problem by its input property and the input-output relation. While solving the main problem, we only need to know the specification of the problem. See, when we solve a main problem, we wanted to know only the specification. What actually wants to happen if I divide two numbers, there must be a quotient, there must be a remainder. That is all we want, isn't it? There can be a remainder or there cannot be a remainder. The value may be divisible or it can be a fractional value as well. So all this is going to be the specification that we get or give. And we do not want to know the sub-problems, whether they are solved or not. Consider a school-going action in the morning. The action can be written as getting ready for school. This is one action that we wanted to do. Now what we are going to do is getting ready for school from home is going to be a big task, isn't it? So what we are going to do is we are going to decompose this action into small manageable actions. Let us see each steps. First, eating breakfast. Next, putting on clothes. Then leave the home. We have to refine one action into detailed sequence of actions. However, each of these actions can be expanded into sequence of actions at a more detailed level. Yes, eating breakfast can be like this. You have to eat idlis, then you have to eat eggs, then you have to eat bananas, then you have to drink some water, all this. The action put on clothes can be like this. First, even taking bath is one action that we wanted to perform, isn't it? That is left out here. Putting on clothes, what you will do? You wanted to wear what uniform you wanted to wear, what socks and shoes that you wanted to wear. You wanted to wear your ID card, then you wanted to leave. So leave home can be expanded like this. Whether you're going to take bicycle out, and whether you're going to whether you have air in the bicycle, whether the brakes are proper, all this can be checked in your leave home. Yes, then you have getting ready. What do you do when you are getting ready? Getting ready is simply given as eating breakfast, where other values like idlis, eggs, bananas are all left. Eating idlis, bananas, eggs and all are left. Yes. Next, put on clothes. All this is left. Whether you are going to, what uniform you are going to wear for today, because Fridays you people have one uniform, sports day you people have one uniform. Yes. So what uniform you are going to wear, what shoes and socks that you are going to wear, all this comes under putting on clothes. Leave home, how your bicycle is ready or not, brakes is ready or not, things are ready or not, whether you have placed your bag on the bicycle, all this is not being told. Just leave home is being said. Yes, that is what. Refinement is not always a sequence of actions. What a student does may depend upon the environment. How she eats breakfast depends upon how hungry she is and what is on the table. What clothes she puts on depends upon the day of the week. We can refine the behavior which depends on environment using conditional and iterative statements. Now we can make this into a conditional and iterative statements. How we can make? Because it depends, right? Whether if you are hungry, you will eat how many idlis. If you are not hungry, how many idlis you are going to eat. All this comes under conditional statements, right? Eat breakfast. If hungry and idlis on the table, eat idlis. If hungry and eggs on the table, eat eggs. If hungry and bananas on the table, eat bananas. Put on clothes. If Wednesday, put on blue dress. Else, put on white dress. Put on your shoes and socks. Wear your ID card. Yes, all this comes under conditional statements. Leave home. Take a bicycle out, ride the bicycle away. This is going to be a sequential statement now. Yes, the action eat idlis can be further refined like this. Eat idlis, put on idlis on the plate, add chutney while idlis in the plate, eat a bite of idli. What are they doing is, they are making it more and more refined. They are expanding and they are explaining each and every part again and again. How get ready to school is refined in successive levels is illustrated here. Just look, eat idlis. How do you tell it in detail? Eating idlis, eating eggs, eating bananas. In more refined, what do you do? Put idlis on the plate, add chutney, eat a bite of idli, eat a bite of idli. This is going to be an iterative statement. Which is going to be an iterative statement? This part. Because you keep doing it unless the idli is going to be over, unless the plate is going to be empty. Putting on clothes, put on blue dress, put on shoes and socks, wear ID card. Even here you can make a conditional statement. If Wednesday, where? If Tuesday, where? Yes, this is going to be an if conditional statement. Leave home, this is going to be a sequential statement. Take a bicycle out, ride a bicycle away. Is that clear, children? See, the same they have depicted in a flow chart now. What happened? Enter, hungry, and idlis on the table, true. If you are hungry and if idlis on the table, true. You will put on the idlis on the plate, you will add chutney, yes. And if idli is on the plate, what happens? You will eat it till it is empty. How it is working, see, it is really funny and interesting, right? You are hungry and idli is on the table, it is true. Then what you will do, you will put idlis on the plate, you will add chutney to it. Then what you do, you will check if idlis is still on the plate or you have eaten everything. So if still idli is there, you will eat idli, bite of idli. You cannot eat the whole idli just like that, right? So you will eat a bite of idli again and again. This is a continuous process, iterative process. This is going to be an iterative process. It will be continued again and again till the plate is empty. What happened? Once when the plate is empty, the condition is going to be false. After false, finish. You will get into the next. If you are hungry and still eggs are on the table, you will eat eggs. If eggs are not there, you will move to bananas. If bananas, if you are hungry, still you are hungry and you wanted to eat banabas is there. It is bananas. It is true. You will eat the bananas. Else you will exit. Yes, this is how a flowchart is actually represented. Now let us see functions. What is a function? After an algorithmic problem is decomposed into subproblems, we can abstract the subproblems as functions. A function is like a sub-algorithm. Similar to an algorithm. What is an algorithm? Algorithm is nothing but a sequence of steps. Yes, a function is specified by an input property and you will have desired input-output relation. You will have main algorithm to it. You will give the inputs to the function, then you will get the outputs. This is function definition. To use an algorithm, to use a function, what do you do in the main memory, main algorithm, the user needs to know the specification of the function, what is actually there. Then you wanted to know the name and input properties. You wanted to know what, if I give this input, what output am I going to get. This is input output or relation. The user must ensure that the input passed to the function will satisfy the specified property and can assume the outputs from the function satisfy the input output or relation. Thus, if the users of the function need only to know what the function does and not how it is done. Yes, this can be used by a black box, used as a black box in solving other problems as well. Ultimately, someone implements a function using an algorithm. However, users of a function need not know about the algorithm used to implement the function. See here what they are telling us, someone just implements the function just by using an algorithm. However, users of the function need not know about the algorithm used to implement the function. I am writing in code, right? I am the someone who is implementing the function. Fine, I am writing the code. So what I do is, I get the algorithm from the person who has written and I can make a function on my own. However, the person who is going to use the function will not know how this algorithm is actually implemented in this function. Able to follow? I am the one who is writing the code. I got the algorithm and I started implementing the function. And you are the person who is going to use the function and you will not know what algorithm is actually implied. An algorithm used to implement a function may maintain its own variables. What does it do? An algorithm used to implement a function may maintain its own variables. These variables can be local to the function in the sense that they are not visible to the user of the function. Consequently, the user has fewer variables to maintain in the main algorithm, reducing the clutter of main algorithm. Now let us consider the problem testing whether a triangle is right angled or not. Three sides are given, A, B, C, where C is going to be the longest side. Yes, now the triangle is right angled if, what is the formula for calculating a right angled triangle? C square is equal to A square plus B square. We can identify this problem by squaring the number. Suppose we have a function square of y square. This is actually a general function. We are going to use this for a right angled triangle now. We can use this function 3 times, isn't it? A square is just one part of a function. Square is actually written, and what we are going to do is to calculate c square is equal to a square plus b square, I will be using the square function for 3 times. Now square is a black box. Finish. So y on squaring you will get y square. The same way for a square and b square also you will be able to do it. Yes, just have a look here. Right angled, you have a comma b comma c. You are getting the inputs, and c must be greater than a and c must be greater than b. Of course, yes. If c square a square plus b square, say for example, let us take like this, a square, say for example 3 square is equal to 3 square, hold on, have a look here. This is right angled triangle, a comma b comma c. Yes, what have we done here? Your c square must be greater than c square is your summation of a square and b square, which is actually going to be a big number. So c must be greater than a as well, c must be greater than b. Now what is the formula that we are going to apply? C square is equal to a square plus b square, isn't it? So if c square is equal to a square plus b square, the condition is true. Else it is false. So how many times I must apply the square function now? 3 times. Square of c, square of a, square of b. If square of a and square of b is equal to square of c, then the result is true. If not, it is false. Yes children, with this lesson just gets over. Write your 2 marks, 3 marks, 5 marks, your classwork notebook and submit it neatly on Wednesday. Thank you children.